It's time for the 420 Radio News, covering the latest headlines in consumer cannabis, medical marijuana, and industrial hemp. Transcripts of 420 Radio News are available daily on our website at 420radio.org. Now, here's Priscilla Simon.
It's your 420 Radio News for Monday, August 11th, 2014. Taxation and regulation of marijuana has reaped almost $30 million in revenue for the state of Colorado in the first half of 2014. June was the best month so far for recreational pot sales, that's right, with an increase of 19% over May's totals. Experts believe the increase is primarily due to more retail outlets opening up, leading to almost $25 million in sales. Recreational pot sales are closing in on medical pot sales as well in terms of tax revenue produced. While medical pot is taxed at only 2.9% sales tax, recreational pot pays that tax plus 15% excise and 10% special sales tax. Still, in January, medical pot raised twice as much in tax revenue thanks to greater sales volume. But in June, medical tax revenues were only 20% greater than recreational tax revenues. It appears as though Colorado is on pace to meet the estimate of $70 million a year in recreational pot taxes.
Oh my God, $30 million in tax revenue from legalized marijuana in half a year. Priscilla, you know what that means. That means you must have suffered at least $300 million in social costs, according to Kevin Sabet. I mean, remember how he tells us all the time for every $1 we take in alcohol and tobacco taxes, we spend $10 in associated social costs? So I guess there must be $300 million in social costs in Colorado. Now let's see if we can add them up, okay? $300 million in social costs must be from the increased crime. No, wait, crime went down. Okay. Must be from the increased use among teenagers. No, that went down. That went down from 1 out of 4 to 1 out of 5. Okay. It must be from all the people, the lack of productivity in the work. No, it can't be that, because there's 10,000 pot jobs in Colorado and a whole bunch of new industries that have popped up. I know. It must have killed tourism. Because people hear it's the pot. No, right here it says tourism's up 6% there in Colorado. That can be. Oh, I know. Home values, right? Because of all these pot smokers and pot zombies roaming the streets, people's home values have gone up by 20%. Well, that's interesting. Gosh, Priscilla, I guess we're going to have to dig a little bit deeper to find these $300 million in the pot costs.
Yeah. Researchers presenting at the convention of the American Psychological Association stress that once-a-week marijuana use by people under age 25, quote, is not safe. Krista Lisdahl, the director of the Brain Imaging and Neuropsychology Lab at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, told attendees that weekly marijuana users under age 25 show cognitive decline, poor attention and poor memory, and decreased IQ. Dr. Alan Budney, a rehab specialist, warned that, quote, much of what we know from earlier research is based on smoking marijuana with much lower doses of THC than are commonly used today. And that, quote, it is just as hard to treat cannabis addiction as it is to treat alcohol addiction, end quote. Dr. Budney says in addition to addiction, car accidents, chronic bronchitis, and decreased life achievement are the most likely among potential consequences of teenage marijuana consumption.
Wow, I hate to have to disagree with a guy named Budney.
No kidding.
But it's like a guy named Earlywine studying alcohol, right? Anyway. But yeah, Dr. Budney, I watched my dad try to kick alcoholism cold turkey in a trailer once for 3 weeks, picking hallucinatory bugs off his skin, screaming and puking and having constant diarrhea. So, gosh, I sure hope I don't ever have to try to quit pot if it's that hard. Oh my. These guys continue to undermine their own credibility anytime they say anything that equivocates alcohol and marijuana use. Now, I know we've done that too, treat it like alcohol, regulate marijuana like alcohol, but only in the extent that, we want to make it legal and not punish people who use it. To compare marijuana and alcohol in any measure of harm is absolutely ridiculous. And the more you do that, the less young people listening to you are going to believe anything you have to say. At the age of 17, I knew what an overdose of alcohol was. I'd done it many times and ended up puking and, hung over and all of that. Kids know that. And so when you tell them that marijuana is that bad and they don't get the hangover and they don't have the DTs when they try to quit, well, they know that you're just full of hot air, Dr. Budney. We're going to save the rest of this for Dr. Mitch Earlywine, who I'm sure will have plenty to say about Krista Lisdahl and Dr. Budney's pronunciations on teenage marijuana use.
The legal cost of the city of Riverside, California, to enact and maintain its ban on medical marijuana facilities have topped $800,000. Riverside was the plaintiff in a case that went before the California Supreme Court in 2013 that affirmed the right of California localities to ban dispensaries through zoning codes. Most Inland Empire cities ban dispensaries except for Palm Springs. The legal fight since 2010 involved two firms charging the city $805,000, and the city anticipates it can collect about half of that amount in court judgments against more than 80 dispensaries shut down by the city.
So let me get this straight. It costs about $10,000 per dispensary then to shut it down. Do you think a dispensary could generate $10,000 a year in taxes? Well, no, wait. This is since 2010. So we're talking 4 years, right? You think they could generate $2,500 a year in taxes each? Easily. See, this is the cost of your moral prohibition. This is the cost of people turning their nose up at medical use, at demonizing medical users, at saying, oh, it's just about potheads getting high and not in my backyard, NIMBYism. And all this does is it frustrates the sickest people, the people who you really do think should be getting medical marijuana, if you're one of these anti-pot people. It really frustrates those people because they're the ones that don't have jobs, that don't have easy access to transportation, and you're forcing them to drive all the way to Palm Springs or all the way into Los Angeles just to get their medicine. Meanwhile, the people that you don't like using the medical marijuana, the ones that you think are just the stoner slackers that are hiding behind a recommendation just to get high, you're not stopping them at all. They're still getting marijuana. I've been to Riverside. I've been to the Inland Empire. There's plenty of weed there. Hell, we've held cannabis cups out there in San Bernardino, okay? So it's not like there's a lack of marijuana out there. What there is a lack of Riverside getting any of the tax money from it, and a lack of tax money in Riverside to do other beneficial things for the citizens, because you're spending all your money on a couple of law firms and helping them buy, $1,000 dinners and $1,000 suits. That's all you're helping right there. It's time for California to get their head around this. And I do believe by 2016, we'll see some comprehensive activities trying to legalize marijuana in California statewide and finally bring some common sense to California's treatment of marijuana.
Hell yes. A mother in Portland, Oregon is upset that Oregon Health Sciences University required her to sign a waiver when she insisted on breastfeeding her child. At issue is her participation in the Oregon Medical Marijuana Program and OHSU's doctor's recommendation that she should not nurse her child with marijuana in her system. Quote, "We do understand the benefits of mother's milk," the hospital said. "We also don't want to be caught in a situation where a mother continues to use and says that we never gave her information on it, never informed about the risks, and so it's really a way of documenting that the parents acknowledge the risks, and we can't stop her from using it," end quote.
Yeah, this is OHSU's way of covering their ass. This is just a CYA signature that they want. And really, what OHSU ought to be concerned about is the fact that only 13% of medical schools surveyed teach their doctors that we even have an endocannabinoid system. If you knew that we had an endocannabinoid system, you know that the fetus develops the endocannabinoid system by about the 14th week of development in utero. This was recently discovered by German researchers, I think last year. And then you would also know that the endocannabinoid anandamide is the one that helps to regulate feeding and regulate appetite. And anandamide is produced and shows up in trace quantities in mother's breast milk. It's theorized that the anandamide in mother's breast milk is what helps to start the suckling action and to motivate that infant to want to eat, to help to build that infant's appetite up. Now, this may not, be going out to say, hey, do 16 dabs and then, breastfeed your kid. But I doubt very much that she was that kind of user or kind of irresponsible person anyway. According to the stories I read, her midwife had suggested that she used medical cannabis to treat nausea, the typical nausea, morning sickness that young mothers can sometimes get. And there have been no studies published to show any harm or any transmittal of THC, an exocannabinoid, through mother's breast milk. But even if there was a fear of this, don't you think we'd have seen it by now? Don't you think Bob Marley's kids would have shown up with some sort of difficulty we could have picked out? Don't you think Jamaican kids would somehow be statistically different? There'd be some evidence of it by now, and we just have not seen it. This is more scaremongering and more meddling around with the rights of parents who happen to use cannabis, and in a way that we don't see for parents that are using prescription pharmaceuticals.
Yeah. The state of Utah has issued the first 11 cards allowing people to possess cannabidiol oil smuggled in from out of state. The Beehive State was the first among 11 states now that permit the use of cannabis oil high in CBD and almost non-existent in THC for people suffering with intractable epilepsy. The registration cost for the cards was dropped from $400 to $200 recently when officials realized they'd overestimated the program's startup costs. Cardholders cannot get the CBD oil in Utah, but must instead acquire it from neighboring Colorado. Taking it out of Colorado is against Colorado law, and transporting it into Utah is against federal law, but Utah will not prosecute cardholders over CBD oil, which can cost up to $900 for a month's supply.
Well, as long as you're willing to go to Colorado, break its laws, spend $900, break federal law taking it back, and spend $200 to get protection in the state of Utah, then you're perfectly okay to treat your kid with a CBD oil that has been shown to mostly not be effective unless it has some sort of THC combined with it at some ratio or some level that will be illegal under Utah law. Progress. All right, some quick notes here on the schedule for the following few days. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday we'll be appearing at CannaCon in the Tacoma Dome and at the Seattle Hemp Fest. I'll be at CannaCon in the Tacoma Dome from 9 to 6 on Thursday, these times all Pacific time. On Friday, I'll be at CannaCon from 9 to 11, speaking at Seattle Hemp Fest at 12:45, back at CannaCon for 2:30 to 5 o'clock. Herb Thrasher speaks at 6:50 at HempFest, and then I'll be back at HempFest at 7 through midnight for the VIP social and party that's at the Hemposium. On Saturday, CannaCon from 9 to 12, speaking at HempFest at 1:50, and then the band's Chimera at 4, December in Red at 7. 9 to 11 at CannaCon on Sunday, Mac and Dub at noon, Herb Thrasher 12:50, I'm at 2:50, and 5:45. So we got plenty of schedule. Check it all up at the 420radio.org schedule. And that's all the time we got for the news. Thanks to Priscilla Simon for joining us, and good luck as you get ready for school.
Thank you. See you.
See ya. Have a happy 420 there, Mountain Time Zone. When we come back, we're going to take a look at how the NFL ranks relative crime. You know what's number one. We'll be right back.
.420 Radio, your ticket to the High Times Cannabis Cups.
Join us for the International Cannabis Business Conference September 13th and 14th in the Portland Ballroom at the Oregon Convention Center. The International Cannabis Business Conference will focus on the emerging cannabis industry in Oregon, the United States, and around the world, putting you